I slipped on my shoes, let out a grunt, and almost blacked out. They crammed my pockets with vodka, onions, lard wrapped in foil, and candy, refusing to let me leave. But I'm no fool. I've been in similar situations before. I always remind myself of one mantra. If you get drunk at a party, no matter how chaotic it is, just go home and sleep. It's a golden rule worth sticking to. Once in my youthful folly, I found myself at a birthday party for a stunningly beautiful girl. We seemed to hit it off, but I didn't make it home that night and have only hazy memories of what followed. The next morning, they placed a bucket of water in front of me, handed me a rag, and said, "Clean this up." Apparently, I had gotten so wasted that I passed out, vomited everywhere, broke some furniture, and half the village had to carry me to bed. Naturally, no one would let me leave until I cleaned up my mess. Rumors about me began to swirl. The second incident mirrored the first. I'm a bit slow on the uptake. While most people figure this out after one experience, I needed two. This time, it was at a wedding. I remember being there until 2 a.m., but I woke up 18 kilometers away in a field on a pile of hay. How I ended up there remains a mystery. At the wedding, they said I just disappeared. After that, I made it a firm rule to head straight home. I never diverted anywhere else, just home. But once I was back, I allowed myself to relax, even on the porch. Being home meant I could do as I pleased. "Come on, let me go, you drunkard," my buddy Antoka said as we stepped outside. "All right, hosts, farewell, everyone," I replied, and we set off home, feeling uncertain yet resolved. We had been leaving for almost 3 hours. Kogor and Antoka insisted, "We'll stay until 8 p.m. and then head out." For sure, but as usual, it didn't go that way. Grandpa Yakov, the guest of honor, said no, we can't leave yet. We had to stay for at least another hour. Otherwise, there would be resentment and broken family ties, and that kind of resentment could last until death. You know how it is. Where there's 1 hour, there's often 2 or 3. In the end, they told us, "You got no sense at all. Where will you go? It's 12 kilometers away. That's 2 or 3 hours. Where could you possibly go? It's already 11:02 p.m. Where?" But we were insistent, and after some effort, we finally managed to leave that house. "It's beautiful," Antoka said as he lit up a cigarette, and it really was. The river looked like it was right in the palm of our hands. There was a field, a forest, and it seemed like our village was just over there. From this vantage point, it almost looked closer, just a couple of bends on the map, and we'd be home. But trudging through wasn't going to be easy. 1 step, 2 steps, and it wasn't happening. Hey, maybe we should just stay. But I definitely didn't want to stick around. Could it be Svetka's fault? Perhaps. I might be feeling down right now, but trust me, by morning, you'll wish you hadn't gotten involved with her. I know. I tend to get a bit romantic after a drink, and the weather tonight was just perfect. The sky was clear, filled with stars, and the full moon illuminated everything. The sounds of the village at night were truly magical. I'd even say it was soulful. Right now, I'd love to sit at a table and drown my sorrows in a few drinks. But no, I have to head home. Tomorrow brings responsibilities I can't ignore. If work can wait, the livestock definitely can't. They won't take care of themselves. So in this lovely weather, we made our way to the river. Everything was illuminated, as if it were daytime. A few houses had their lights on, and we could hear dogs barking in the distance as we slowly descended from the hill. This entire village is perched on a steep slope, and I was glad they brought us here after all. It was easier going downhill. As we walked to the river, we fell into a comfortable silence. It felt awkward to speak about what was on our minds. Eventually, by the river, the chatter began. "Stiopka, hang on. I need to fill up with gas, or I won't have any for the ride back." "Wow, this compote is good. Are you coming with us?" "Well, what's missing? I also had some stimulants. Stiopka. My head is a bit foggy." While gazing at the river, a memory surfaced. What moment? "Hey, do you know Vova Isev?" "No." "Well, that's not surprising. Here's the scoop. He was an old man, about the same age as Yakov, but not from here. He loved to steam in the black bathhouse, was really into it. One day, I went to take a steam bath and didn't come back out. They found him there all blackened. The heat in that bathhouse is unbearable, a true nightmare. But the stove was cold." "What are you getting at?" "Well, there's a grandfather here and another one there. I was looking at the water, contemplating a swim. But then I thought about it. What kind of bath are you after? You can't knit a bast. You'd jump in, and the men would fish you out of the nets downstream." "You're right. I've never liked this river." "It's foolish." "How can a river be foolish?" "Well, look at it. The current is narrow and fast, but deep. It can look like that sometimes. In places, it's just a stream. Yet you can't feel the bottom. And how much fish do we actually have? Just think about it. The men will fight over the last crucian carp. Almost everything has been fished out. Tomorrow, they'll start frying stones from the river. There's plenty of fish here. Everyone knows that. But no one really comes here. Why would they? You can drive for half an hour and catch crucian carp or chub elsewhere. Yet here we are, not in any rush to leave. And what about the bodies? How many has the water spirit drowned here? There's no water spirit. Eat, if he exists. He must be deaf. Where did you hear that? Mikhail Pavlovich brought dynamite as a gift for Vodyanoi about 5 years ago. I was there. I saw it with my own eyes, opened the gate wide, and watched what happened. Believe me, if there was a water spirit, he's either dead or very ill. I almost forgot about him. But still, the river is strange, and I never liked it. I wouldn't go swimming in it, even though I really want to," said Antoka. And we stepped into the field, where the wheat was starting to ear. The air was heavy with tension, and I could see Antoka's unease increasing. "I really want to get out of here," he whispered. We hurried our steps, the sound of our feet resonating in the quiet. Every rustle of leaves and crack of twigs seemed exaggerated, as if the darkness itself was watching us. "Just a bit further," I said to reassure him, even though I felt the same tight knot of anxiety in my stomach. The tales of the field and the spring replayed in my thoughts, blending with the thick silence enveloping us. Bizarre, isn't it? I can't help but spit over my shoulder. Speaking of strange things, what did your dad mention? He told me that back in 1989, an agronomist was found dead in this very field. What's odd is how he died of a heart attack. Apparently, he was completely white, as if covered in flour, lying on his back with a wild look in his eyes. They say he went to the cornfield in the evening to check on something for work. I took a look myself, but that's not the weird part. He was discovered in a trampled circle, like someone had been pacing around him all night. Terrifying, right? Honestly, I'm feeling a little spooked too. The chickens and the beads don't quite add up. If it were just the chickens, there wouldn't be anything strange about it. But beads? Chickens don't wear those. Who knows what's going on? Maybe someone around here dabbled in magic. You know how it is. When people fight, it can get intense. Masha Salatina wouldn't let you forget it. Poor Masha. She was a wreck after just a week. Anyway, let's grab some compote. Now about that blind turn. It's not a favorite spot for tractor drivers, or anyone really. It's just a simple intersection where two roads meet. The first leads to the forest, while the other climbs up into the village. I never understood why it was called a turn instead of an intersection. Maybe there used to be a turn at some point, but the name stuck. This area is known for its strange happenings and sightings. Equipment tends to malfunction, and people often claim they see things that aren't there. That's why tractor drivers tend to avoid it. They don't like their machines stalling near that spot. There's a story, just a story, mind you, about a tractor breaking down ages ago and a figure standing by the turn in the evening. They approached the driver and said something cryptic that left him deafened. Who that was, nobody knows, but many say it's best to steer clear of the place. You never know what you might encounter. Things are going well for us, though, and there's nothing particularly eerie around. By the way, I wanted to share something about the farm well when we were discussing the plant and the river. What's down there? I asked. Well, my neighbor, who has a camera, decided to investigate the well's depths. So, I tied the camera up, turned it on, and lowered it into the well. And guess what? It was strange. The bottom was filled with all sorts of junk, but on camera, it looked like someone was holding the camera steady, and someone else breathed on the lens, fogging it up. Oh yeah, that happened just 4 days ago. I always felt uneasy walking past that well. It's pretty strange. Not quite in the village or the city, just this odd spot that's grown unusually large, thanks to the farms and manure. Even if that's the case, it's still just a mediocre place. It's merely a path between Platovka and Kolodny. What's the matter with it? I heard something that makes it seem not quite right. And that's it, I said, pointing out the significance of the moment. The forest loomed closer, just a short distance away. Its treetops jutted into the sky like the jagged teeth of colossal ghouls. Once there had been a sturdy dirt road leading through, a reliable path, until around 1986, I think. The boys had gone to the disco to enjoy themselves, one night during Walpurga. Rumors swirled that it would be a big event, with local artists performing, making it sound like a real party. Others dismissed it as mere gossip, claiming nothing would actually happen. In the end, it turned out to be just that. Gossip. He strolled around the square, chatting animatedly, pretending to be someone he wasn't. Meanwhile, the boys vanished along with the path, leaving no trace behind. It was as if the road had never existed. It simply disappeared overnight, and those who had been there couldn't even recall where it had gone. That's what a disco is like," I remarked as we stepped into the forest, sensing the genuine horror beginning to creep in. Imagine if we had taken a different route. How much longer would it have taken to navigate through this forest? "At least it's a bit shorter here," Antoshka muttered. True enough, the forest at night is unsettling on its own. It might have been a road once, but when the trees close in above and the moonlight struggles to break through, it transforms entirely. This is the moment to either believe or act. The only comfort was that there seemed to be nothing around. The path was too narrow. What if there were wolves or wild boars lurking nearby? "Look over there by the tree," someone whispered. "And who cares?" another replied. "Someone will definitely stumble upon it by morning." "Right, Stjapka. It's a hell of a situation. You walk, your soul trembling, and it feels like something's about to occur. Be quiet, you fool. Keep it down, or the truth will surface. Just tell me, how do we get out of here?" We pressed on through the forest, relieved it wasn't too wide in this section. "Let's figure out our route," I suggested. We need to turn left. There's a forest up ahead. Not far, but nothing too remarkable. Just bypass the ravine for about 500 meters, and we'll be home." "Yeah, right. 500 meters. I might be drunk, but I remember the place well enough. I'd take the shortcut, even with the ravines and 3 abandoned buildings. I don't care. It's at least 1 or 2 kilometers shorter." We continued walking, bickering about which path to take as the atmosphere around us grew increasingly hostile. It was eerily quiet, just like the first time. When we finally emerged from the forest, we both paused, glancing back apprehensively. I noticed someone shaking a spruce branch, watching us. Who could that be? Damn, someone's lurking there. Can a witch cast a curse? Who would be waiting for us in the open at night? Yet we kept discussing our route all the way to the crossroads. Once there, we stopped to smoke, knowing this was the moment to decide. "Let's grab some compote and head out," Antoshka suggested, visibly anxious. "Sure, but only if we go my way. The longer you linger, the greater the chance something might happen to you," I replied. "But you're suggesting we navigate through ravines and sketchy areas where even people avoid going during the day, let alone at night. By the way, have you noticed how they're watching us from the forest? I noticed 2 of them sprinting along the edge over there. Look!" But before Antosha could point, I quickly took his hand and lowered it gently. "What are you doing? Don't point." "What if they come charging at us?" he asked. "So what should we do? We're out in the open." Even though I had covered most of the distance, I wondered if it was really me. "All right, let's get moving. I have a feeling something's about to happen. I'm not going with you." I refused to take that detour. "You shouldn't worry about it. Let's just go this way." We didn't argue much. We simply acknowledged that everyone has their own perspective and made the foolish choice. This is the kind of behavior people often criticize in horror movies. Yes, we split up, and I pressed on alone. There were plenty of reasons to avoid enemy territory, but those 3 houses were right at the edge. They're shrouded in foggy legends, rumored to be home to demons. Nobody knows much about those houses, but they stand in a peculiar formation. 3 solid structures create a circle, forming a small courtyard inside, hidden away without any road leading to them, just about a kilometer from the village. Right among the enemies, these houses have always seemed deserted. No one has ever seen them occupied, not a single soul. They've always been there, abandoned. I won't frighten you with tales of someone having seen or heard something there. Everyone, including me, was certain of one thing. If you want to encounter evil spirits at night, those houses are the place. On dark holidays, a fire is lit in the yard, but there's never anyone around it. Who could possibly want that in the dark? People are too afraid to approach those houses, even during the day. Yet here I was, walking straight towards them, not along a path, but in a straight line, since there was no other way. The slope was nearly impassable, and while the bushes weren't tall, they still made pushing through exhausting. I was convinced that the road, if you could call it that, was designed that way on purpose. I didn't know a single person brave enough to enter those houses. They practically reek of death. Yet the houses stood firm, untouched. The windows were clean. The yard kept tidy, despite weeds growing around. Someone was watching those houses, and I knew who it was. With those thoughts swirling in my mind, I walked most of the way until I suddenly heard a scream, a male scream, faint but coming from the direction where Antoka had gone. I felt a strange vibration. I realized something was following me from the forest. I ran, fully aware of their presence behind me, pushing forward, exhausted and stumbling. It wasn't as easy as it usually was, but I pressed on, and it paid off. When I reached the hill overlooking the village, the dogs were howling as if they were being skinned alive. And in the field beyond the ravine, I saw small twisted figures darting around. I knew they were the devils, up to no good. We have plenty of stories like that. Well, I made it out, and that's what matters. Ah, bite me, you filthy piece of trash, I thought, as I sprinted home. I could feel the alcohol wearing off. Antoka never made it home. They found his boot on the road in the field, but he had vanished. If you believe the tracks, he ran away. Deep in a ravine, far out in the wilderness, where nothing exists and likely never will. He probably met his fate. Anyone else could have walked or run alongside me and still be alive today. But what can you do? Only the grave can set Gorbatov right.